Hey there, today we are talking earnest money. What is it? Do you have to pay it? And how does it all honestly work? I've got you covered, just keep on watching. Hey there, it's Riggs here, a realtor with Coldwell Banker King Thompson, bringing you all things real estate here in Central Ohio. We are a community here, so do make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell too, so that you don't miss any of my weekly videos. So listen, today we are talking earnest money. What is it? Do you need to pay it? And how does it all work? I told you I got you covered, so let's get started. So what is earnest money? From the buyer perspective, that is you, earnest money is money that you pay in advance to show the seller your good faith or your intent to purchase the home. It's what can really help separate you from other buyers who are not positioned to be able to do so, because it's money that you're putting out there now that you can't capitalize on until you close. And I'll come back to how your earnest money is applied. But if you pay out $500, you don't get that $500 back until the very end. So when you think of inspections and any other moving related cost, you can't leverage that $500. There are some buyers who just don't have that disposable cash to be able to do so. So it does really show some leverage on your part. Now, I'm going to tell you, from a seller perspective, earnest money is what they want. And if you are in a seller's market, I assure you, you are paying it. And it's because it guarantees the seller some assurance that if you show your intent, but you terminate your purchase contract and you don't have a contingency to do so, the seller is keeping your earnest money. So from your perspective as the buyer, you've got something to lose here. If you pay out that money and you terminate, you can lose that money and also not have the house as well. So definitely make sure you understand that before you enter in and agree to pay that. Understand the risk that you have as a buyer to do so. Now, the next question I get is earnest money required? And for us here in Central Ohio, earnest money is not required. Yeah, you heard me. In Central Ohio, earnest money is not required. However, I'd be foolish not to tell you this. In our market right now, in most areas, it is a seller's market, meaning I am foolish as a buyer to think that I'm not going to have to pay earnest money to a seller. It's just hard to make that happen because in a seller's market, you typically are competing against other buyers who likely have no qualms with putting some earnest money out there. So although it's not required for us here in Central Ohio, just be mindful that you're likely going and paying some earnest money. The next question I'll get is, how much earnest money is okay or acceptable? And that really varies. There is no set price and there is no set amount, but it does depend on the market you're in. If you are in a multiple offer situation, the price of the home, all of that should come to mind when you're deciding how much you want to put out there. For example, if you're purchasing a $500,000 house, to think that a seller is going to be okay with you putting up earnest money of $250 just isn't going to work. That they don't feel like that's enough skin in the game in comparison to the price of the house. You get what I'm saying? So again, no set percentage, no set amount, but you have to use your best judgment. In most cases for the clients I'm working with, we're looking at anywhere from $500 upwards to about $2,000 or $3,000. Again, depending on the strategy we're using. If we are competing against multiple offers and I have buyers who are strong, I can use earnest money as a way to really show that we can put some extra earnest money up there because my buyers are strong, we will close, assuming there's nothing material wrong with the house. But we have contingencies to cover that. Let me get to that. The next thing I'll talk about are contingencies. This is what's going to protect you as the buyer, and more importantly, protect the earnest money that you've paid are those contingencies. Now, again, depending on the market you're in, the home you're buying, etc., there could be more contingencies that you have written into your contract. But in most cases, there are three big contingencies that you are going to see. The first one is the home inspection contingency. This is a period of time where you get to hire all the professionals that you feel are necessary to have have the home inspected to ensure that there are no material defects that the seller has not made you aware of. You have a time period for that, and you have to ensure that all of those inspections or tests are done during that time frame, and that if you're not happy or not satisfied, you are terminating within that time period. The second contingency is the appraisal contingency. If you have went to a lender to secure a mortgage to purchase the home, the lender will order an appraisal. There is no way of getting around that. They want to protect the collateral, the home you're purchasing, to secure your mortgage. So if the appraisal comes in under what you've agreed to pay for the house, and you and the seller cannot agree on a new price or a negotiated price that needs to fall in line with that appraisal from the lender's perspective, or you as the buyer are not willing to bring the difference to closing to cover that, then you're terminating due to the appraisal. The third contingency is the financing contingency. Like I mentioned, you're securing a mortgage from a lender to purchase the home, so you have to make sure you go through all of the underwriting hoops and everything needed to make sure you provide all the documentation to ultimately close on the loan. There are some buyers out there who do some interesting things. They go and open up new credit cards, buy new furniture. They do things that changes their financial position, changes their debt to income ratio, changes their credit score. And if you do those things when you're going through the process of getting your home loan, it can negate you from getting it. So my advice there is don't do that. Talk to your agent if you're not sure. But certainly if you're in that space where something's changed, it could be something honestly out of your control, like a loss of a job or a health challenge. So not always things that you've done, but sometimes things just happen that cause you to not be able to get financing. You would have to terminate as a result as well. The next question I get is, when is earnest money due? This is another one that's written into your purchase contract. It can be due immediately after contract acceptance, meaning when both you and the seller sign the purchase contract and you're officially in contract. Earnest money can be due then. It can be due in a matter of a few hours after that time, or it can be due after your inspection and or remedy period. It's all going to depend on what you write in your purchase contract. And again, this is another strategy where you may have to provide it sooner to show more of your intent to buy than later. Your real estate agent can really guide you here because this is a strategy on when you pay earnest money. So then who holds your earnest money, or is it given to the seller? It's not given directly to the seller right then. So no matter when you pay it, out the gate or later on in your purchase contract, it's not provided directly to the seller. It is held in a special trust account by a broker, and it can be your buyer's agent's broker, or it can be the listing agent, which is the seller's agent broker. One of those individuals' brokers are going to hold that money in a special trust account. Now, here in Central Ohio, we do have to have mutual release for earnest money to be given back to the buyer. So this is where those contingencies are so huge. If a buyer terminates their contract and there's no contingency in place, this is where a seller is going to request your earnest money. But if there's a contingency in place and documentation is provided, then both parties should sign and earnest money should come back to the buyer. So just keep that in mind, that you want to ensure that you're protecting you, but at the same time using whatever strategy you can. If you're in a seller's market, you're going to have to, but always protect you as well. So you know what's on everybody's mind is, if it goes out, how do I get it back? How do you get that earnest money back? And the simple answer is, you close on the home. When you purchase the home and you go to closing, you're going to see a credit on your documents at closing with the amount of earnest money that you paid. So when your lender tells you that you need to bring $3,000 cash to closing, you're going to see that you ultimately only need $2,500 if you paid $500 out in earnest money. So that collective amount suffices what you need, but you get it back at closing. So you pay it out on the front end, you get it back as a credit at closing if you ultimately purchase the home. All right, so ask Riggs down in the comments section. Let me know if you're still just unsure about earnest money or you have questions. In the comments, ask me, let me know. I told you we're a community, so I want to make sure I address any of your questions or concerns there. Now, I also still have you covered. I have a video here I think will be very helpful for you, and then YouTube is recommending one here that should be helpful for you as well. So stay fabulous and productive, and I will see you in my next one. Take care.